This is the introduction to AutoCAD templates. First off, there's some things that need to be understood. You need to make sure that you pay attention to what units your work is going to be in. If you need to be drawing in the European standard, which is metric, and you start an imperial or an American template, you cannot switch back and forth between metric and imperial once you're inside. So you have to make sure and pay attention to your units that you need to start with. I'll show you the difference between these templates right here. If we go to the new icon right here and we select that, it takes us into the template file of AutoCAD. There are two templates here. This is the imperial template, the AutoCAD.dwt, and the metric European template is the AutoCAD ISO.dwt. Remember what I said before, if you're drawing in an American standard, inches, decimal inches, fractions, or architecture, you have to start with this AutoCAD.dwt template. If you need to draw in the European standard or metric, you have to use the AutoCAD ISO.dwt template. So we'll be creating an architectural template to start with. So I will select the AutoCAD.dwt. The first thing I need to do here is I need to get our units correct. So I'm going to set the units here. We're in architecture, so I need to make sure the units are in architecture. And our precision will be set at a 16th. Now I'll move to the annotation tab of the ribbon, and that'll take us into the annotation ribbon. We have three annotations that we want to work in here: the text, the dimensions, and the multi-leaders. Within these there are the styles that we want to set. So I'll open up the text style dialog box. This is architecture, so I want to create a new style, call it architecture. A typical standard in architecture is the city blueprint. So I will find the city blueprint text. The city blueprint looks like an architect's handwriting. We won't set the text height here because we'll set that in other areas. We want to make sure that our text is annotative, and then we'll set that to current. We'll say yes, and we'll close. Now we'll go into the dimension style dialog box, which is right there. We want to create a new dimension style, call it architecture. We will start in this lines tab here. We'll set the extend beyond dimension lines to a 16th of an inch. We'll leave the offset from origin at a 16th of an inch. We'll move to the symbols and arrows. In architecture, we use architectural ticks. We'll set the tick size to an 1/8 of an inch. We'll leave the center marks alone. We'll set the break size to a 16th of an inch. We'll move to the text tab. In the text tab, we got to get the text style that we set, which was architecture. We set the text height here. This is why we don't set it over in the text style. We set the text height here to an 1/8 of an inch. In architecture, the text placement in this first location here is above. We leave it centered here. We set the offset from dim line to a 16th of an inch. And we want to be aligned with the dimension line in architecture. We go to the fit tab, and here we want to make sure we set it to annotative, and then we always want to turn on the place text manually. In the units, we're obviously doing architecture, so we need the architectural units. We'll leave the precision at a 16th of an inch. We want to suppress the 0 feet, not the 0 inches, so we want to turn the 0 inches off here. And then we're going to hit OK and close. So that sets our dimension style. Now we'll go into the multi-leader style. We'll open up the dialog box. We got to create a new standard called architecture. Okay, over here, leader format, we'll leave it straight. We'll set the arrow to architectural tick at a size of an 1/8 of an inch, and our break size is 16th. We'll move to the leader structure. We want 2 leader points. We want to automatically include a landing, and we want to set that landing length to an 1/8 of an inch. We want our multi-leader standard annotative, and we'll move to the content tab. We'll use mtext to create text. Remember, we created a text style, so we go get that text style. We set the text height at an 1/8 of an inch. The landing gap we'll set at an 1/8 of an inch. Set it as current and close. Last thing we'll do here is in the home tab, we want to go to the layers. Now we open up the layer manager dialog box, and then you want to create your layers in here. We'll select a new layer, and then in here we got to name it. So we'll call this the walls layer. We'll leave it at white, and we'll set the line weight to 0.5 millimeter. We'll create a new layer, call that windows, and we'll leave those the same as the walls. We'll create a new layer, we'll call it doors, and leave those the same as well. We'll create another new layer, we'll call it dimensions. I want to change the color of the dimension to red and set the line weight of the dimension to 0.35 of a millimeter. We'll create another new layer called text and leave that the same as the dimension layer. Obviously there's going to be a lot more layers created for the architectural world, but this is just showing you how to create these layers and get these set up. You'll want to have these all preset in this template. So now once you have all the set, you never have to do this again. Your architectural template is set with these standards that you want. Now I'll save this. We'll go to Save As, and we need to switch to a template right here. So down here we'll select that, select the AutoCAD drawing template. We need to go find our directory, and we'll put that in our directory. We'll name it the architecture template and hit save. If you want to put some notes in, you can right here. Okay, I'll close this now, and we're going to quickly do a metric template. So I'm going to go up new here. I'm going to select the AutoCAD ISO. Okay, we'll go into the annotation tab here. We'll go into the multi-line text. We'll open that up. We want to make sure that we select a new standard, millimeters. And for that, I want Times New Roman. For our text, we'll leave the text height alone because that'll be set later. We want it annotated. We'll come over here to dimensions. We'll open up the dimension style dialog box. Because we selected the metric, it created a metric standard for us right here, so we'll just modify that. I'll go into the lines. Extend beyond dimension lines will be 1.5 millimeters, and offset from origin will be 1.5 millimeters. We'll go to the symbols and arrows. Leave those as arrows right here. Our arrow size will be 3 millimeters. The dimension break will be 1.5 millimeters. We'll go to the text. Our text height will be 3 millimeters. Our text placement will be centered and horizontal. We'll offset from dimension line, we'll set at 1.5 millimeters. Under the fit, we want to check the annotative, and then we always want place text manually on, and we'll turn the draw dimension line between text lines off. Under our units, for metric, we want to leave this on decimal right here, and we want to set the precision to no decimal places. We'll hit OK and close. And now we have created this metric template. Save this template now. Make sure we switch to the template. Go to our directory, type in what it's called, metric, and hit save. So now we have created both an architecture and metric template. Okay, I'll close this. Now we'll go in and create a decimal template. We'll use the AutoCAD template right here. Alright, we got to go to our units. We'll select the drawing utilities and go into the units here. Make sure decimal set, and I'll set the precision to 2 decimal places. We want decimal degrees. Here you can do degrees, minutes, seconds, gradients, radians, as well as decimal degrees. We'll leave it on decimal degrees. We'll set the precision here to 2 decimal places. And we're in the annotate tab. We want to set the text size. So go to Times New Roman again for this one. We want it annotative. We'll leave the text height alone. We'll make use of the standard template right here since it is in decimal. We'll move into the dimensions. We'll modify the standard style since it's already in decimal. In my lines here, I want 1/16 of an inch for the extend beyond dimension lines. We'll leave it as 1/16 of an inch for offset from origin. I'll move to the arrows. We want a closed filled arrow. On the arrow size, we want 1/8 of an inch. The break size, we want 1/16 of an inch. Move to the text. We'll set the text height here at 1/8. We want on the text placement centered in both locations and horizontal. On our offset from dimension line, we want that as 1/16 of an inch. We'll move to the fit. We'll leave all this the same. Make sure the annotative is selected and place text manually. We'll go to the units. We want decimal set here, and for the precision, we will select 2 decimal places. Down here under zero suppression, we want to suppress the leading 0. You'll notice right here, if you look right here, there's a 0 in front of the dimension here. If I suppress the leading, it will get rid of that 0 right there. We go to the leaders. We'll use the standard since it's decimal. Under leader format, we want straight. We want the arrowhead to be 1/8 inch, and our leader break to be 1/16. Leader structure, 2 points. We want the landing height to be at 1/8 of an inch, and we want it to be annotative. Under the content for M text, we use the standard for there, text height. 1/8 inch, and we'll leave these in the middle. Landing gap 1/16. We'll go to the Home tab, go to the Layers dialog box, and then we can set up some new layers here. We'll call this Object. We'll leave that at white, and we'll set the line weight to 0.5 millimeter. Then I'll do a new layer. I'll call it Dimensions. I want my dimensions red, and the line weight at 0.35 millimeters. I want a new layer called Text. I'll leave that at red and 35. I want a new layer called Center. I'll select the magenta color for that, and line weight left at 35. I want a new layer called Phantom, and I'll select that for my standard to be blue, and my line weight here will be 0.7 millimeters. I'll create a new layer. I'll select Center here because I want to make use of these settings here. I'll go new layer. I'll call it Hidden. Leave that there and set those. Okay. Now for Center and Hidden, we want to change the line type. So for Center, I want to go into this where it says Continuous. I need to load, and we want to get the Center line type and the Hidden line type. I want to load those into our listing here. So we want to select the Center here and hit OK. And then it shows the Center line type. For the Hidden, we want to go into here and select the Hidden. So now it shows the line type at Center and Hidden. With our Phantom, we want to load that Phantom line, which I failed to load. So let's go get that. Here's our Phantom line, and select Phantom. And so then our Phantom is selected in there. And then we'll close this. We'll save this, change this to template, change the directory, and call this the decimal template. This ends the AutoCAD template introduction.